doesn't know how to read is able to understand the gospel. So we are going to do that by answering the question, who is God? Who is God?
God is Alpha, the beginning.
If we say God is Alpha and the beginning, we are seeing that truth in the book of Genesis chapter 1 verse 1. There the Bible starts by stating to say, in the beginning God. Meaning, before anything started, in the beginning God was there. He is self-existing. Who is God?
God is the creator.
If we say God is the creator, as it is telling us something that he is not just the beginning, but he created even everything that came in existing. When we go to in the book of Genesis, chapter 1, verse 1, we are saying that God created the heaven and the earth. When we go forward in the same book and the same chapter, we are going to see that he's creating everything that is in heaven and in earth. And including man was created by him. That is showing that God is the creator. Who is God?
God is powerful.
Can you explain about that?
God has authority. We have seen this just by creation. He used just the word. By the word, creation was there. God said, let us make man in our own image. He just said a word. He said, let there be the light. And the light was there. We have seen that God has power. He has authority. Just by the word, creation came to exist.
And that's true. Though only man was created in a different way, but everything came into existence through his word. Who is God, my brother?
God is merciful and graceful.
God is graceful. That's true. God is graceful. When we go into the scripture, in the same book of Genesis, in chapter 2, verse 17, we are seeing God promising man to say, when he has placed man into the Garden of Eden, he told him to say, do not eat to this tree of knowledge and truth. The day you eat to it, the day you eat it, that's the day you will die. But when we go forward in chapter 3, man ate the tree. And when we read chapter 3, verse 21, we are going to see that instead of God killing man, because man is supposed to die, he has disobeyed God, he's supposed to die. But what does God do? He shows his grace upon man by clothing him with the garment skin. Where did the garment skin come from? Oh, an innocent animal died. God killed it in place of man. We can't say garment of skin can come from nowhere without anything done. That is showing that there is something which died in the place for God to cover them up. We are saying that that is grace. These people, they have disobeyed him. He's supposed to, the punishment is death. But God does something different. That's we are seeing that truth in Genesis chapter 3, verse 21. My brother, we can't end there. Who is God?
God is covenant keeper and maker.
God is a covenant keeper and maker. What? God promised man that you are going to be fruitful. You are going to multiply. He gave them that. That will happen. But man sinned. And the payment for the sin of man was what? Death. Was death. And as we go on, we are going to reach at a point where humankind, their sin became great. And God decided to destroy the whole universe with water. And that is in the book of Genesis chapter 9. But God saved Noah and his family. And you see what he did. In Genesis chapter 9 verse 1, he gives the same covenant he gave to Adam. He tells Noah to say, you are going to multiply. Be fruitful. God is keeping his covenant, which he made to Adam, to say, you are going to be fruitful, going to multiply. The same, despite destroying mankind, he still keeps his covenant, he still preserves it, and he gives it to Noah. Who is God, my brother?
God is Jireh, the provider.
God is Jireh, the provider. When we go to the story of Abraham in the book of Genesis and chapter 22, God told Abraham to say, take your son and go and offer him as a sacrifice. Abraham obeyed God, took his son Isaac, they went. When we read in verse 8 of chapter 22, Genesis, we are saying that they have everything that they need for the sacrifice, except one thing: they don't have the lamb. And the son asked, where are we going to get the lamb? Then Abraham says something: God will provide for himself. Genesis 22, verse 8. God will provide for himself. And when we go forward in verse 13, and truly God provided the ram for them. He provided the sacrifice for them. Truly God is the provider. And Abraham called that place, God will provide. God will provide. That is who he is. He is a provider. My brother, let's proceed. Who is God?
God is God who sees.
God is God who sees. When we go forward in Genesis 16 and verse 13, we are seeing the story of Hagar. After going through afflictions, God saw her afflictions and spoke to Hagar. And Hagar called God of seeing. He has seen the affliction. He is a God of seeing. We cannot just end there. When we go forward again in the book of Exodus, we are seeing the children of Israel. They are in Egypt. And Moses, by this time we're talking in chapter 3, he is shepherding the sheep for his in-laws. He is not in Egypt. Then he goes to this mountain, he meets a burning bush. When in Exodus chapter 3 and verse 5, we will start in verse 4. When the Lord saw that he turned aside to see, God called to him out of the bush, Moses, Moses, and he said, here I am. Then he said to him, do not come near, take your sandals off your feet, for the place on which you are standing is holy. And he said, I am the God of your father, and God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. And Moses hid his face, for he was afraid to look at God. Then the Lord said, I have surely seen the affliction of my people. Verse 7 of chapter 3, Exodus. Then the Lord said, I have surely seen the affliction of my people. He saw the afflictions of the children of Israel in Egypt. He is the God who sees. God sees, my brother. Who is God?
God is holy.
God is holy. In the same chapter of Exodus, chapter 3, where we started, verse 5, then he said, do not come near, take your sandals off your feet, for the place on which you are standing is holy ground. Only God, who is holy, will make this place to be holy, because he is a holy God. My brother, who is God?
God is the deliverer.
God is the deliverer. When we go in the same chapter of Exodus and verse 3, and chapter 3, verse 7, then the Lord said, I have surely seen the affliction of my people who are in Egypt, and have heard their cry because of their taskmasters. I know their suffering. Verse 8, and I have come down to deliver them from the hand of the Egyptians, and to bring them up out of the land to a good and upland land, a land flowing with milk and honey, to the place of the Canaanites, the Hittites, the Amorites, the Perizzites, and the Hivites, and the Jebusites. The point is in verse 8a. Verse 8a. And I have come down to deliver them out of the hand of the Egyptians. I have come down to deliver them. God is the deliverer. Therefore, he came down to deliver them. Who is God, my brother? There are so many things we can say who God is. But for someone who doesn't know how to read, must know this fact, for them to understand the gospel in their lives. Therefore, Blessing Kikombe and Edward Munyuka decided to present his truth to you. This is